Hey guys, welcome into the program. This is VAAV. Welcome to VAAV Live. As always, I'm your host and managing director and founder of VAAV Industries, Vincent W. Allen. Welcome to the program, or like I always like to say, welcome to the really big show. Due respect to Ed Sullivan. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about is I'm going to be recapping as you guys well know, I've been talking about it for a while. I had an upcoming interview with Star Jones, legendary broadcaster. And that happened earlier today. We just finished a little bit ago. So I'm going to recap a little bit about what we talked about on the interview. And then there's a few other things I'd like to discuss, AI revolution, continuing to lean in to equality and closing the gender gap in tech, a few other things of that nature. Throw the title up again. Once again, my name is Vincent W. Allen. The company is VAAV Industries. The website is www.va-av.com. And let's just get into it. So earlier today, I had the pleasure of being interviewed by Star Jones. She's a broadcaster that many people know from The View, but she's been around for a very long time, has interviewed, luminaries from heads of state to big time actors and other celebrities. So it was such an honor to be able to be interviewed by her. That interview should be available within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'll let y'all know. I'll keep you posted in terms of when that's coming out, and we'll post it on our page. It'll be up on our website, YouTube, etc. But we'll also rebroadcast it out here in our regular scheduled Thursday evening time slot. I'm so happy to be able to be sending Thursday evening with you guys. We're gonna just get right into it. So one of the things that Star and I really talked about was she's just getting to know me a little bit, and what the raison d'etre, as it were, for starting VAAV was. And as you guys will know, it's really threefold. It's one, we want to do great tech and production and engineering work. We're really, really interested in that and helping people solve their technical problems from a AV IT broadcasting standpoint. And we talked about that, right? Then the second piece is we really want to push the narrative and drive the industry forward in terms of technological adaptation, all of the stuff we've been talking about, the things we've been doing with the XR Mirage technology, the volume, showing you guys how the green screen stuff works and all of these kinds of things, right? And then the third piece which is really the most important part of what we're doing, is our social good, sort of initiatives. And part of that is coming to you every week or nearly every week and talking about how we get people who don't get the due respect and due credibility in the industry to get the due respect and due credibility, and leaning in towards women in tech and, girls who code and all of that really, really great stuff. And so we talked a bunch about that, and it was a really, really great conversation. I can't wait for you guys to see see the interview. I had, a couple members of my team here, my crew here, setting up lights and green screen and cameras and et cetera. We picked up a couple of new pieces of technology for the shoot. I want to take you through some of that. So this guy right here, I'll take the title off so you can see what we got going on here. Is I've got a monitor here that I'm using for confidence monitor. The most important piece of technology I have on the set is my coffee cup, which, if you can see that, it says you're on mute. How do you still not understand how this works? A little snarky humor never hurt anybody. Caffeine. Now, and this guy we've got here is Sennheiser's new answer to the USB microphone. It's a USB-C condenser microphone. I wasn't expecting to like this nearly as much as I do, right? It's got some basic DSP functions built into it. I'll show you right here. It's got some dials and some buttons across the front. So I have the ability to, it's got a headphone jack in the back, so I can adjust my phones. I can adjust the microphone level, how much of the microphone or playback from the PC that I'm hearing. And then it's got a mute button, right? And then it's got your headphone level, right? Like I said, I wasn't expecting to like this mic as much as I do. It's got a built-in stand and a built-in tilt so that you can sort of point the microphone element towards you. Sounds better than I expected it to be honest with you. Now, I've looked at a bunch of these microphones, whether you're talking about the Shure MV7, whether you're talking about PreSonus has one. I love PreSonus's gear, by the way. All of the racks I build for various clients are, when we're building a broadcast rack or a streaming rack or a video conference rack, I tend to go with PreSonus sound devices because they sound good, they're affordable, and they have quality software backing them. I also like the sound devices. I've got a couple of mixed pre-3s, in my kit. But Scarlett makes good stuff as well. But I tend to be a Personas guy, so I've tested. They have a new microphone out that has a built-in DSP and whatever. One of the things that I was talking to my crew about what was that I'm excited to see where this goes, and I don't honestly have an answer for y'all yet in terms of where this is going to land, but I think the ride is going to be interesting over the next couple of 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years. Is I've got a microphone like this or any of its competitors. I've got some limited DSP functions built in, right? Now, Shure makes a piece of software that for their microphones where it leverages the computer to do a lot of the processing, where it allows you to sweeten the room, put a plate reverb on it, put, different kinds of effects or whatever. Now, what that's going to lead to, right, is in the video conference space, what we'll have is a biamp to share or a QSC or, DSP, which is digital signal processor, for those of you who don't know. And every conference room we've ever been into, every meeting space we've ever been in has this in a closet in a rack somewhere that is taking the microphones in and doing all the mixing and pushing it back out to the speakers and then out to video conference land. Video conference land is kind of like Candyland, but just everyone's sad, right? Everyone's sad and flat and in bad lighting. I kid. But the point is that this is how all of this stuff works. So there's not someone, mixing the sound live like you would have in a concert environment or a house of worship environment. And so you have a DSP, right? Sometimes you'll have a DSP and a soundboard in place and they're working in concert. That's not super common outside of, let's say, an auditorium. Right? But you're starting to see DSP tech built into stuff like this, right? And so what that leads me to think is that if I've got a DSP tech built into the microphone and a piece of software on the computer that's working in tandem, microphone and software, then it's only a matter of time before AI gets involved in that. We're starting to see on some of these microphones that there's already some limited AI where it's going to auto mix for you to a degree. That's only going to get better, right? Because I was actually talking to my crew today about this, while we were setting up, that there are lots of great soundboards out there. Yamaha makes a bunch of great boards. Personas makes great boards, Allen and Heath, etc., that have the ability to download a plugin, right? That where it's based on a legendary studio producer. Like, for example, a guy like Danny Duncan, who I've worked with a couple of times, who's, won, Grammys and Dove Awards for like recording Usher's albums and Martha Munizzi from the gospel marketplace. And he's won all kinds of awards for his mixing, right? Well, he's got a plugin out there. Lots of people have these plugins you can download, and then it will base your mixing. It will give you presets to the way your microphone sounds or the way your guitar is going to sound or like whatever, based on what that legendary producer is doing. It is not, before we get there, there's a piece of technology out there. It's called the Dugan Auto Mixer. Now, Dan Dugan is a legendary guy in the audio engineering space, like, Prophet on the Mountain, top type of legendary. I've met Dan on a couple of occasions. Man's brilliant, right? And he invented this thing called the Dugan Auto Mixer, which is an algorithm based, but it takes all your microphones and it mixes it all to sum of one. I won't go through what exactly that means today, but we can do a class at some point about what all these things mean. If you're interested, hit me up in the comments and let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But so you've got these plugins out here from legendary, audio engineers. You've got something like the Dugan Auto Mixer, but that comes paired with the Yamaha boards. But all of these manufacturers now pair some version of an auto mixer with their higher end soundboards. And so you take those two things, you put a microphone in place that is a USB connection, so you're not doing anything, really significant from a connectivity standpoint or a capture standpoint. And then you put DSP functions into the microphone or, on the computer, and then you put an AI behind that and tell it mix that as if mix all of these microphones together to a sum of one, and then mix that as if you are mixing, like Kanye or whatever. And then I want you to make it, and then I want it to be based on a television show or a hip hop album or a jazz album or a radio broadcast. And then there's almost an infinitude of content out there now from the entire history of the broadcast and recording industries for AI to search through and catalog to be able to know what the heck any of us are talking about. And so I think I don't know the answer to this yet, but I'm going to keep looking into it. And as soon as I have answers, I'm going to come to you and let y'all know. But I think that's the next iteration of how we do this from a production standpoint. Now, you're still going to need, microphones, and you're still going to need an engineer to turn the microphones on and to balance the microphones and mix the mics to a even balance point. So we're probably not going to be doing a significant amount of the EQing and carving out, cutting here and boosting there, on the RTA analysis on the sine wave of what that microphone sounds like. But we still are going to need sound engineers to do the basics. But those people are going to be experts, are going to have to be experts in AI going forward, I should think, right? To that point, we were continuing to have this conversation about AI and whether or not it was scary or exciting or whatever. I tend to think it's exciting, but a lot of people tend to think, oh, Skynet, here comes the Terminator, and Arnold going, it's Sarah Connor, right? I don't think that's where we're going to land, right? But what I do think is a lot of the low-level jobs that nobody wants to do, right? Listen, editing photos is a pain. Editing video is a pain. Lots of people do it and make lots of money doing it. But it's tedious and laborious, and you're 20, 30 hours in an edit suite before you have anything useful. And then it's change after change after change coming from your client or your producer or what have you. Those kind of jobs, those low-level associate editor jobs where it's like apply this preset, put in this subtitle, like all that kind of stuff, those jobs are probably going away. AI is probably going to do that. The example of this was I was talking to my photographer who does all of my shoots. Her name is Jada. She's phenomenal. She's a great photographer. I would love to pass business to her if anyone's looking for a great photographer. We were talking, there's this new camera that people have been talking about. It doesn't have a lens. It's an AI camera, and it's using like geotagging, GPS technology to pull up images from the internet that are already out there from that location. It stitches together an image based on where the camera's pointing. To me, that's crazy. You need a lens, but that just demonstrates how far this AI thing is going, right? And so, like, it can be scary, right? But we've got to continue to evolve our work cycle and evolve our processes to include this AI tech so that we continue to do our jobs better and more efficiently. Like, listen, when I was working as a photographer, when I was doing photography for the Mets, for example, you would at the end of a game, you would have a couple thousand photos, right? Some of that game stuff, some of it fan photo stuff and whatever, but you would go through and have like all of these photos, and most of them you never did anything with, right? So now I can, in theory, take a whole card full of photos and have, and we already have this on our iPhones and Android too, but just in general, where you have that auto enhance button. What do you think's happening there? That's machine learning, and that's code that knows, okay, well, generally speaking, this is what you want to see out of a picture. And so it enhances your photo for you, right? That's already happening, right? So we're going to see more of that and more of that. And personally, having done the work, I was never excited to spend 30 hours editing a photo. If I could say, I want this batch of photos based on this preset, go, and then go have a cup of coffee. Listen, like the artistry is in the lens, not in the edit, or at least it shouldn't be, in my opinion. Back in the day, and I'm going to sound like a dinosaur here, but when we had film cameras that used film, right? And you had to take it to a dark room and develop it. There was no editing the photo once you took the shot. You had to know how to take the shot. And so to me, I'm excited about the idea of I take the photo and then I develop and then I have AI develop it, and I'm a photographer again, not a photo editor, right? To me, those are different jobs, right? So that's exciting, right? But what's really exciting, and back to sort of the raison d'etre of why we started this company, was talking to Star Jones about leading in to girls and young women in technology to be able to change the world in that way. That's what we're really seeking to do here, is changing the world. We talked about the three pillars of this company, which we've talked about here many times, doing production work and doing it well, doing, AV engineering and construction engineering and doing it really well, and doing the AV IT integrative stuff and doing it really well, but how all of that is really in service of the larger mission, which is realizing a world where when a woman walks into her workplace, not just in tech, but anywhere, she's on an equal footing with every man she comes across. And it's not like a, hey, sweetheart kind of thing, right? That's what we're trying to do here. And so the other thing that I recounted, I wanted to tell you guys today, which as you can see, I'm really animated and very excited about this. I'm going to be speaking at the Internet 2.0 conference in a few weeks in July. And we're going to be talking about how to solve the diversity issue in Silicon Valley. But I think this applies across the board everywhere. I talked to Star Jones about that as well. I'm really excited for you guys to see that interview when it comes out in a couple of weeks. But is how to solve these issues. And like I said to you a couple of weeks ago, really radical revolutionary idea to hire more women, hire more diversely in every category, right? In every conceivable category, if we hire more in a more diverse way, we'll solve a lot of these problems. But one of the things that I was really excited to recount this story to you, I was telling my crew, a good buddy of mine, a guy named Gamal Willis. He's a director at Cases here in New York, and they deal with young people who get entangled. Shout out to Jada, in the court system, and they help them get through that, but they give them training and different things. And Gamal and I were having a conversation about 6 months ago about this. And they do great work. Look them up. But I was telling him we were meeting about potentially partnering to do some curriculum or what have you. And one of the things I was talking to is I was showing him a picture that I had taken on my phone of my daughter, Naomi. And as you know, Naomi's about 8 years old. And she was interacting with a large touchscreen that I have in my office doing her homework, right? She had a virtual whiteboard and a side-by-side. So she had her homework in a web browser up on one side and the whiteboard up on the other side. And then she had the little smart pen, and she was doing her math homework. And she was writing down, she was looking at the problem and writing out the problem and doing her and working through the problem. And I showed him this picture, and he knows Naomi. And so he was, of course, amazed by how, much she's grown and how intelligent she's become and all these kinds of things. But more to the point was he was amazed by the fact that an 8-year-old could do something like that. And I was like, bro, listen, all of these 8-year-olds can do this, right? This COVID kid generation, they have spent multiple years of their academic life on a tablet, on a laptop, on a phone, on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Adobe Connect, or similar, leveraging Google Classroom or similar to do their studies, right? And these third graders, like my daughter just finished up third grade last week. So congratulations to you, Naomi. Good job for getting finished. But little pause, slow clap for Naomi for getting all her homework done. But what's the point? I mean, I'm being a little funny because she's sitting right there and she's smiling at me. But what's the point? The point is, if you have a second or third grader who's capable of doing that now, what are they going to be able to do 10 years from now they enter the workforce? What are they going to be able to do 5 years from now when they're in high school? All right? What are they going to do while they're at college? These people that we perceive as young people right now, Gen Z, for example, you've got some of these people that he works with, who these young people that he's working with barely know how to use a computer. And they're teaching classes and, like, sarcastically, how to computer, right? What's a hard drive? What's the internet? Like, what's a keyboard, right? They're having a hard time competing now, how much harder will it be when a whole generation of Naomis get out of college, are properly in the workforce, and they're going to change the world. I'm convinced of it. And so what we have to begin to do is we have to leverage technology and educate people on how to do this stuff at every stage, because as worried as some people are about how AI is going to take everyone's jobs, I have been around long enough to remember when social media became a thing, people were worried about it. Like how are web designers ever going to be able to compete? How are businesses going to be able to do this or that? Right? People were worried that when the internet became a thing, people had all of the same concerns. When computers first became a thing, when automation first became a thing, when robotics first became a thing, like at every step along the journey, right? We have evolved technology more and more and more. And yes, that has taken some jobs away, but it has created new jobs, right? For every job that gets lost to AI, there will be a new job created for how to, deal with the AI, right? Computer technician didn't used to be a job. There used to be no such thing as IT. Once upon a time, there was no such thing as AV. There was no such thing as a videographer or a video editor or a podcaster or like any of these things, right? These are all jobs that did not exist when I was a child, right? These are jobs that, you know, if maybe they did exist in some rudimentary form, where it was a small handful of people. Now almost everybody knows how to video edit, right? And there are plenty of people who make their living either working for a company or independently on Upwork or whatever as a video editor, right? As a photo editor, as a podcast editor, right? Or editing audio or whatever, right? Lots of these things did not exist as recently as 20 years ago, and we've created new jobs. So I think that the fear mongering over the whole AI revolution is overstated, number one. But number two, is really exciting, right? It's really exciting to see what technology is going to come. And that's something we're going to keep talking to you about. I don't know the answer yet in terms of where we're going to land from an AI perspective, but I like to think that it's going to be a good place. It's not going to be The Matrix or Mitchell's versus the Machines. It's a great kids movie if you haven't seen it, but you definitely should check it out. But we have to be careful, right? So, as always, my name is Vincent Allen. This has been VAAV Live. We're going to keep bringing you all the new stuff as we go. I'm going to keep showing you new technology as we get it and keep talking about things. I will post the links to the Star Jones interview once it becomes available. And keep checking us out. Hit us up in the comments. Go to our website, drop us a line. Like, there's a bunch of different ways to get in contact with us, but please do get in contact. And look forward to next month for the video from the conversations we'll be having out in Las Vegas. Those are really, really super important. But please continue to check us out. If you haven't done already, go ahead and Hulk smash the like and subscribe buttons on all the various platforms that we're on. And we'll talk to y'all again soon. Thank you so much. You have a great rest of your evening. And for all the dads out there, happy Father's Day. Make sure to give your kids a snuggle and spend some time with them this weekend. We will talk to you soon. This has been VAAV Live. Peace.